here. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
We don't know
So
facts. How does it
we
work?
don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but like so the WNBA, I don't know if the the players saying that they want a shared revenue, right? But for the most part, they've until probably this year they've been losing money. You know what I'm saying? They weren't really they're getting subsidized by the NBA because they weren't making enough money.
That means they're
While yeah,
operating high, right? Operating at a high cost.
that means that they're operating at more of a higher cost to run. You know what I'm saying? So they're not gaining. They were like making money to withstand themselves. So the NBA would like give some money here and there. So some of the girls are saying that they want like a particular shared revenue. Now I don't know the exact number, but when I have fans that try to tell me, they're obviously 90% of them are women that are telling me this, or like they should get paid the same. I'm like, but they don't bring in the same. Like, how can you sit there? And I even said this. I think I talked about this about football. Like when football players talk about NBA and how NBA players get paid. Okay, well, you're looking at and I'm breaking this down football players. Yeah, 52 players on the team. I think about 53 actually, right? 53 players, about 17 to 18 games a year. Right now, you have a lot more stand members, but you have less games, more players. So you're not, most of these people are not just financially going to get the same amount of money when you're talking about 82 games, roughly 20,000 fans, right? And 12 to 13 players on the team. The money is going to be spread a lot higher because you also got less people. You know what I'm saying? So the same thing in with the WNBA. If you're sitting there saying you're paying 42 games a season, you know, and at that time getting 6 to 7,000 fans to go to your game, what are you talking about? Maybe what are you talking about getting paid the same? And at the same time, you can't sit there and say I'm going to charge you higher ticket prices when people are not going. You have to
Revenue
entice people to
sharing.
go, but you're looking it up.
Oh, no, 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 no. Go ahead, continue.
It's like how are you gonna ask for more money when you're also not like having good ticket prices and people selling out.
Mm, mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like so there's a lot of people that are like, well, they should get paid. I was like, dude, I really don't give a fuck if you get paid the same or not. It just got to make business sense for certain people, you know.
Am I to believe the NBA wasn't making money in the 90s, right?
I think it was either the late '70s and '80s. The NBA was like he had players
Like,
supposedly after offseason working other jobs, and
yeah.
I think even for a short time during the lockout, you heard like some players, which doesn't make any sense because they probably were not spending their money properly. Um, they were working at like Home Depot or whatever during that time.
Mhm.
Um, Let me see. Let's see. Let's just see. All right. So you said and I'm just looking this up real quick. According
Yeah.
to April 25th, the average regular season WNBA game in 2023 by team. Los Angeles Aces had 9,555. Mercury 9,197. Seattle Storm almost 9,000, 8,929. Minnesota Lynx 7,777. Liberty Sane,
Mm.
Chicago Sky 72, Sparks 62, 65. That's crazy. Sparks that low considering LA. That's a whole other story
This
right
is
there.
attendance average?
This is the average attendance to a WNBA game in
Yeah.
2023. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Suns 6,240. Dallas Wings. Now it's a huge drop off. Dallas Wings 4,641.
Oh, okay.
Right. So Indiana Fever 4,600, 4,067. Atlanta Dream 3,000. That's according to statistics, like if this is real, right? Let's just see what the average NBA attendance is, right? Not average, but oh, I was like I saw 2021 it was a COVID season, so it was like 1,000. Throughout the NBA from 2023, 17,000, pretty much almost 18,000. 2023, 2024, 18,312. 2021, 22, I think this is the opening back up, right? You had 16,906, 17, like almost 18,
Yeah,
17,
definitely.
8,
Yeah,
85. So you're like,
almost
it's
like
talking
sold out
about
arenas.
doubling. Yeah, you're almost
Mhm.
doubling the fan base and you're doubling the games. You know what
WNBA,
I'm
did they
saying?
got a TV deal?
I think they're working on a TV deal, and that's another thing too.
That's most of the money.
Yeah.
See, so then I'm to understand like the NBA before Jordan essentially and Bird and all them
Hmm.
was the WNBA.
I think it was still I mean, because that's why you hear a lot of the players like the Kareems or whatever, like they weren't making as I mean they're making good considering, but they don't like
Considering the time.
yeah the time right.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean you remember Michael Jordan didn't like he averaged less than a million for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And that's in like
Um,
93, early 90s,
yeah.
folks.
So WNBA game has 40 games a season. 40 games.
Okay, half the games. Yeah.
So you have, you know what I'm saying? Like so like if you're trying to sit there and tell me that they should get paid the same or get, should they get paid more? That's arguable. You're talking about some people are making $100,000 to play for 4 months. That's a lot of
True.
fucking money.
That is.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
is.
Do you get like I'm
Oh,
not
for
trying to
sure.
downplay. I'm not trying to downplay that they should get paid. I'm just
It's just
breaking
the
it down.
following isn't
You
big.
you and I would be happy like, hey, yo, I just paid you $100,000 to play for 3-4 months. You'd
Fuck
be
yeah,
happy.
dude. I'd be happy,
You know what I'm
bro.
saying?
I'd be good with that. I like that.
Now, because what happens is I can understand this part that their star status doesn't reach the same salary. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't.
So but it's like, how could we pay you more? You get more probably from endorsements, but how could we pay you more when we're struggling already?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they got to keep
So,
fighting, though, I guess. That's what I'm
no,
assuming.
no, and I'm not against them fighting. I'm just like, I'm just the people who are arguing about it, like, are not looking at, like you said, there's times where you get statements and people are like, are you even like paying attention to the actual facts of it? Or are you just
No,
yelling
fuck
just to
no.
yell?
No,
You're just yelling
there's.
at the clouds to sit there and
Yeah.
say, this is atrocity of like, I think that you get paid more, but those that are complaining. That's the other part. Those are complaining. Hey, did you go to the game? When's the last time I went to the WNBA game?
Oh, that's common. That's common.
You're
It's
just talking
emotional.
right now.
Yeah, it's emotional for
You're
people.
emotional, yeah,
Yeah, I
because
get
you
it.
choose team whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. We've been under
Like
illusions because you see everybody getting paid, and the world feels like it's changing, right? You see Mr. Beast, you see the
it
Paul
is,
brothers.
it is,
You think
it
like,
is.
damn, this is the future. Where are women at? Women, I thought we're supposed to. And I get that. It's just my thing is there's a certain level of entitlement. Um, I think that's kind of veiled, and that could just be an American thing, maybe not a female thing.
Oh
I
no, I
think
think
just
that's
the
an
sport
American
needs help.
thing.
I think,
I
but
think that.
I'm looking at the big three, right? And the big
Mhm.
three, the way they did it, and shouts out to Cube for doing that. They do. They started 3-on-3, and then they just tore the games. So all the players just show up at one spot. They do a day or 2 day run at an
Mhm.
area, and then
Mhm.
they're building from there. And I think next year, or in recent, or in the coming future, I think they're going to be doing teams that'll have possibly home, arenas now.
Yeah,
See, and
yeah,
I dig that because that's kind of like a, you know, live within your means. We're taking on older NBA talent, so we don't have to pay as much. The names are there, and then we're taking younger, unproven talent in a three by three style format. Basketball offseason. So you just look at that, and is the NBA just at a point where okay, we're making good money. Okay, the
they're making
WNBA, this
ridiculous.
it's not there yet, and maybe with the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese, and these women coming in and not being into women like that, maybe just being like quote
Yeah,
unquote. I don't want to say
you mean like
normal.
that?
I
Yeah,
just want to say they're not they're just more womanly in
yeah,
today's
yeah. I
age.
mean, because
Not to
I
be
felt
mean, I don't
weird to
even
say
know.
it.
I can't
No,
even say
yeah,
shit like
I
that,
don't want to
but
be mean.
give a
I don't
fuck.
want to be mean, but yeah, but I
They
think that
look
this was
good.
the first time that people could honestly say that most people could say that they look good, right?
Mhm.
And that's not saying that there wasn't some here and there.
Here and
It's
there
just
for sure.
now
Here and sure.
when you saw the whole plethora of them, most of them were. It sounds bad, but most of them were feminine women that bald. You
Yeah,
know,
Yeah, true. True.
And most of them were that way and expressed their girly side. You know, like that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not to say because I think I used to think Sue Bird was cute as hell. You know, and I think she was. You know,
Yes. One out
so
of,
and so,
thousands. But
but
yeah, I get you. I get you.
I never thought Rebecca Lobo was cute, but I always I fucked with her when I was younger. Being like, when I was younger, I was in WNBA, I watched Cheryl Swoops and all these girls, and I was into it. And then like the second or third season, I was like, all right, this is I don't know, it just didn't have my interest anymore.
Oh, come
You
on.
know,
Dawn Staley, bro. I thought she was like the fourth member of
Don
Escape.
Staley,
I was like,
Don Staley was
oh,
Don Staley was the girl, man, like that. But see,
what?
at that time, that type of girl really kind of like you kind of knew but didn't know, meaning like
You have to
you
have
fuck
her
with
in your R&B
you
group.
but you
You had
also
to have
fucked
one.
with her. You also fucked with girls like that because you was like Queen Latifah's though, Missy's though. You
Mhm.
kind of knew, but they had that swag. But then they had that part where you like respected them.
So that was the beginning. That's the
Like.
beginning.
But you also had like the brat. You know what I'm saying? Like if we
Oh,
didn't,
Brad's
or
fine. Brad
if we
is
were,
fine.
but the brat was fine. But then but we were like, because I didn't think Don Staley was ugly at that time.
Oh, no.
At that time,
Dawn
you know what I'm
Staley
saying?
was
When you
cute.
look at she wasn't
It was
like
cute to be a
goddamn
ball player
gorgeous.
and
But
be cute.
it was
It
like,
was
yo,
cute.
you was cute. You was a ball, and she was a ball. She was a baller, bro. She was
There was
a
a more
baller.
feminine tone
She
to that era of basketball. There
she
was
was
just more of a feminine tone for
she
sure.
was the female version of a New York point guard you heard about. You know what I'm saying? Like how she balled. Like she just did those things were just like tough.
Her
Um,
personality, it's just the character she was and however that was all Lisa
During that
Leslie,
time,
all those, yeah, those, whoever was in charge of marketing back then did, I think, a tremendous job because those names stay strong. And I think those have stay power. And, that was a lot of years put into those people's careers prior to getting to the WNBA. Their run at the Olympics. It was just a good time for them to be captured in that light.
you know what's weird. You know what's weird. It's because even though some of it has changed because as the time changed, people changed too. But at that time, when they were fighting for these leagues, they were fighting for a chance, right? And this is just what I recall that they're fighting for the chance. They didn't feel, at least it didn't seem like it growing up. And this is where I think it's changed. I think they didn't feel that they were entitled to anything. They just wanted a chance. They wanted to show what they can do. They wanted the ball. Now I believe we shift I think we said either on or off camera. I think we shift into a realm of entitlement on all levels of people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I feel like. Somewhere in the '90s, '80s, and '90s, people were like, "We're gonna work hard, and what we get, what we get." But I'm a keep fighting. Things might not work the way I want, but I'm gonna keep working hard. While now I feel, and I don't know if you would agree, I feel now people are like, "No, I'm supposed to have this."
Why do you think that is?
I forgot. I'm not saying the statement properly, but it's like tough man makes equals time easier times easier or yeah weak times make tough times or whatever, like this is ebb and flow, right? So people fought so hard to make it so much easier for us, right? That sometimes when we go through things that are easy we don't know how to deal with resistance. You know what I'm saying? And so I think there's also this thing that because people fought for these things that should have been kind of there, that now it's just supposed to be this is what it is, especially in America, in my opinion. This is just what it is. Just supposed to have all these things, and I I disagree. I heavily disagree with that in life. I've been around the world and also in my own life, and I'm not. Maybe that's why I have depression or sadness. It could be that I got things held back, or it could be I'm playing devil's advocate, or it could be that I thought I was owed shit and I'm not getting it. You know what I'm saying? So I want to lean towards the second that I thought I was supposed to have stuff, but I didn't get it
Mm.
because that can be very depressing when you think you're supposed to get all these things and you realize you're not. I don't know what I'm saying now, but My
No, we're just trying
statement
to
was just
figure
like,
out like the entitlement thing, like how it
yeah.
got to this
Do
point.
you feel that way too? I mean, what do you think it was like?
I think yeah, I think there's a point there. It's just so difficult, You know me, I like looking into history. Or I try to anyways and hear nonsense on the internet and figure it out, but
Mm-hmm,
like the hard times, that's a narrative that you're hearing.
mm-hmm,
If I had to look at the internet as TV, right? Or the new TV, the new wave of information, that saying has gone viral is in today's tone. So
mm-hmm.
and I think the way things and why things go viral, I think are not necessarily good or bad. Maybe it's just more, hey, this is just subconsciously, this is just trending with everybody.
Yeah,
Because I
I
can't
agree.
honestly, this is where I kind of stop the bill in terms of my conspiracy mind is like it's all controlled and dude, it's been orchestrated the whole time, because people are stupid. So it's like
We are like
we're hella dumb. So
I
ain't
think
no one
we
really doing
inherently
that.
I think we inherently want to be a part of something, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that.
Right. So what happens is like, this is just I think this is just how we are as people, right? Like, uh, it's difficult for people to deal with themselves by themselves, right? Well, I believe we talked about this. This is why was it? I might be saying it wrong. Solitary confinement is one of the toughest things that people can do
It's
when they're sitting
punishment
in a
for people
prison.
in prison, bro. That
In
says
prison,
something.
yeah, and you are like Grant, like you're in prison. You're surrounded by people. You're going crazy, but you go even crazier when you're surrounded in a room by yourself,
With your own thoughts.
and people are just like dejected.
They come out crazy.
They come out, yeah, like their energy level, like depressed.
Changes somebody. That kind
It
of
it
that kind of
it
experience.
you know.
So then yeah,
So
we are tied subconsciously, right?
but at the same time we're not just subconsciously. I think like this lady was saying this earlier. We are tied to some energy and whatnot, and those who want to believe in higher power or don't believe in higher power, we're connected like this energy, this flow. This is why some people say some people can bring in good vibes, some people can't. Right? We're connected, and sometimes we feed off of that with each other. Okay, and then most people don't want to be alone. Like even with relationships, like most people don't. This is why most people look at single people who've been single for a very long time, like, there's something wrong with you. No, but for those people, they have to be in a relationship. They have to be around someone. And I think that sometimes we need to uh, inherently need to attach ourselves to a group of people so we can identify ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, there's a level of that. Yes, I agree.
Like, and maybe I'm not saying it like maybe I don't have the proper words to define. Or say I might sound silly saying this shit, but like I just think that we inherently need to be around people and need to be identified with a group of people, right? And even if we are going through it and we try to not identify with ourselves, we kind of identify with a group of people. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Like sometimes we're like, I'm an anarchist, or you say, conspiracy theorist, which is a group of people who think similar. And sometimes when you're around those people, not saying this to you, but sometimes around those people, you kind of like feel somehow at ease and at home, like you're not alone. You know what I'm saying?
Shit. Yes.
Like when you dance, you felt comfortable with the people when you got the right people. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you look like you had some more to say with that, so you can
Yeah,
like
yeah. No, I think there's
elaborate.
I think it's very similar to the the hard times, weak times, weak man. That dynamic, this
Mm.
if I had to go a route like the plus minus,
Yeah.
the positive, negative, north, south, however you wanna, magnetism, energy, vibe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think in that same light of, you know, things being very like subconsciously connected. You
Yeah.
know, I just I think that that is like the experience of life. Like you have to be a part of the group to find yourself,
Hmm.
only to be by yourself, only to come back to a group thing. I mean, I think that's to me is the age we're in. I think we're trying to figure out how many of us stick along with groupthink and to what degrees and levels. Because I think we're starting to find out that, that whole viral thing, there's levels. There's
Yeah.
levels. You know how that's
Yeah.
viral now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whether that's in our algorithm or this is part of now the culture of today, um, anybody who grabs onto that is now looking at everything in maybe a humbling way,
Hmm.
where you're now open to the idea that, hey, there's layers, brother. You're like, oh, well, there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
People start talking about it. Now it's planted in our minds. And now, what we were talking about, where the entitlement, even just the fact that we talk about entitlement is already, maybe this is already entitlements on the downturn, and being humble's on the upturn,
Mhm.
depending on what you're looking at, like, oh, women are just doing too much and they're not trying to be with men, and this and that, and they're starting their own revolution, and one of these women, and then that's in the subconscious only until hawk tua on the dick, you know what I'm saying, like, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden
Yeah.
guys are like, oh shit, if that
Yeah.
if that's
Yeah.
if that's viral,
Mhm.
then you're telling me that, oh, that shit, that Me Too and all that stuff, that's already been on the downturn. And
I think it
Haktua
has.
is on the upturn. You know what I'm saying? Women are gonna start coming back to men type shit.
Yeah. I mean,
See,
I think so somewhat because there's. I mean, I don't know. I have to look it up, but I've heard some of them be saying that they're unhappy being the lead. I mean, even in like certain, same sex marriages, like, God, it's just frustrating.
hey
Some
man, there's a
women want
lot of
to
them. You
be.
always see it. You could identify who the guy is. You're like, hey, that the unhappy
Yeah.
one, that's the guy.
Oh God.
The one that's a little overweight all of a sudden. If it was like two bad ones, which is a common thing now. Before
Oh
it used to be like two
man.
butch ones,
Yeah.
a butch and maybe
Yeah.
like, damn, you a lesbian. I didn't know I did. Dude, you're so fine. I can't. Now today you're like, they're probably just all fine. Like, oh, they're just
Think
all
about.
fine now. I'm like,
I mean, maybe women may feel that way because I heard women say, "Oh, I had a cute one's gay," but I feel like not only are men like competing against other men, they're also competing against like other women or women that identify as men or whatever. It's like fuck.
there's a
Because
lot of
there's
fuck
times
going.
there's time. So this is weird. This is so weird. This is weird. And and this is gonna transition to a certain thing. Like it's weird.
It's gonna
Fine.
trans into what? Trans?
Transition. So it's weird because in the same sex marriage or same sex relationship, height doesn't fucking matter. You ever notice that?
Oh no, no.
Right? And so people like say height doesn't matter, but for some reason, and I'm not saying this is a make all break all, but what I'm saying for some reason in opposite genders, right, or traditional or whatever we want to call it, I don't know how to say. I'm not saying height is the main thing, but it seems to matter in America. You know, like I know confidence is the thing that most women are looking for. But if you had two confident men, one was 6'2", and one was 5'8", most women are gonna go to the 6'2". You know what I'm saying?
That's what they say. Definitely, yes, yes.
I mean, like, well, because what was the thing that we used to hear when we were kids? They wanted someone tall, dark, and handsome, which was the repeated sheeple thing that they hear, right?
The viral.
Right? The viral tall,
It's
dark, and
true.
handsome. I was like,
Oh,
I
it's
said, I'm dark.
protection. They're protection.
Well, and a lot of times, like I'd probably say that I can understand the deep down of feeling want to feel protected, and sometimes taller men may seem to feel more protective. You know what I'm saying? But it's not necessarily always true. I do
Definitely not
think
true.
that confidence. I think confidence does matter, but what I'm saying is, if you had two confident people, you're going to probably go with the one that's a little bit taller. Um, but in a same sex relationship, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And sometimes I'd be tripping out because I'm like, I
Why is
look
that?
at it, and maybe it's jealousy. You can say whatever, but it's like sometimes looking at it, I'm like, this person dresses like me, but you went that route. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
What is it that you feel more comfortable about over there? And that's not to talk trash. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of these things I'm looking at, like, huh? it's different when you're saying like there's two ladies that are feminine looking, you know what I'm saying? That not one's what you consider butch. But in the African American culture, you usually see one that dresses more like a dude,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Got the freshest kicks and pulling, and you're looking at like, so what's the difference between dating this and the dude? What is it that you feel more comfortable over there, you know? And I'm not sitting there saying that the women aren't like born lesbian. I'm just wondering, you know.
That's a good point.
I think it was always one of those things we used to talk about, like where like a dude that dates someone who cross dresses, and it's kind of like one of those weird things. Like, why don't you just like that's why don't you just go for the real thing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That I
okay,
don't know. That's really the
that
interesting
part
part
trips me
about our
out. That
minds,
trips me
bro.
out. You know what I'm saying? Like, what goes on? You know?
Yeah, how much of that
And
is
I'm just saying that from
nurture
that.
versus nature?
I'm just saying that from my perspective of like, if you went that route and you went for someone who transitioned
It's
and
fascinating.
whatnot, you know, it's like once you go for the real product
My thing is this. I think
or
that
the organic product, you know what I'm saying? Organic,
the wild, not farm raised,
not farm raised salmon, right?
not institutionalized. I think the easiest way for me to sum it up is, at least on that issue, is always it's just a preference of bedroom, material. Like, what do you like doing in the
Oh
bedroom?
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Just keep it that way. That's my thing. This is why the fact that it spilled over into like some
But
weird
how often have you
cultural
seen girls
thing.
go? How often have you seen girls go back and forth?
I mean, what I hear versus what I personally know.
Mm-hmm. But I want to go off of what you personally know, not what you hear, just
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
you know, because
Personally
like
know, no. Usually, whoever's a lesbian's a lesbian.
the which one, the butch one or the feminine one? That sounds
In
bad.
my
Sorry,
world,
listen.
it's always like feminine. In the world
The,
that I've come to understand, it's
okay.
feminine. But see, now there's a feminine that has a more of a masculine undertone now, just more
Mm-hmm.
in behavior, like you said, like the dressing up. I forgot what they call them. Uh, I forgot what they call them. There's like a new slang for it. But anyways, I find that fascinating. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say it's a bad thing. It's just I
It's
always
just
go
a
back to I
thing.
don't know what women think. I mean, to be honest, like what
Oh
you were
yeah,
saying
yeah.
about the
Well,
tall thing, and it's like, yeah, but gay people they ain't worried about it. I was like, maybe that women overall ain't worried about it, but the way that the propaganda gets into our minds,
mm-hmm.
like some women start to believe it, some men start to believe it. Not all, if probably not a lot, but it's probably just enough to skew the number, right? If I go off the idea that world diabolical, I'm a mastermind, my goal is to try to have these people having less families. All right, this is just a little slight, maybe I'm taking a percentage off the chunk,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll take a percentage one at a time, because this fight is my plan is forever plan to just slowly chip
Mm-hmm.
away at these people not having offspring, because that's one of the things I don't know if we talked about it, but it was like thinking about what immigration is, not to veer too far. It's like it's this replacement society. Think about it. If there's a generation of us, or maybe the generation before us, ain't having a lot of kids,
Yeah, I'm
and we're trying
not
to,
man.
we're trying to uplift, we're trying to upkeep the standard of the way we have life and culture, but we have no people kind of walking into those different jobs, or a workforce walking in. How do we
Yeah,
get one really
definitely.
fast and
Okay,
get them
so
acclimated?
one part I was like I'm not too sure about the population part, right?
Mm.
But the other part I completely understood where you're saying that there's these jobs that most Americans right now don't want to take.
Yeah.
Is that right? And so how do
Well, it's not
you
even take. It's just even just the everyday job. Like, and I don't
no
even know what
okay
everyday
I
job
know
is.
no I get it because like
I think hard
you know,
labor, just normal
like
labor,
yeah, no,
general labor.
and that's part of the that goes back to where we're talking about the entitlement, which is like, and we saw it, we really seen it, in my opinion, really blow up after or during COVID. Like all of a sudden, people weren't working right; they were getting paid by the government. Most were getting on, like I want to say, Twitter and Twitch. Twitch was blowing up at the time, but now because you were separated, you can make money out of Twitch. And then ladies were doing OnlyFans, right? And then people were getting money off of OnlyFans, and there's a lot of girls that are making fucking money off of that shit because men are online, and now it's like this. And most people are trying to gear towards like I'm a YouTube professional, which is marketing. Let me just give them credit to where it is. Like if you're in a marketing major, you would that you can kind of turn and say that's what YouTube is. A social media is marketing, right? But like my old school way of thinking is like, okay, that's not a job, right? But then people are making money off. So it is. And most people are going to try to go that route, even though it is a lot of hard work to get there. Once again, it's the Steph Curry thing, right? People just see the outcome, but not the work, you know.
For sure.
And especially with social media, you see that transition into like, I'm not saying you have to put everything out there. Meaning like you got to keep it real. Like, oh, I just took a shit, watch, maybe post it on social media. What I'm saying is like so many things are fabricated in a way where it's always the good side of things, or they'll over dramatic the bad side, and one person is the evil person, even though they don't tell the whole picture, or tell the whole story. But it's dramatic, it's drama, real life, reality TV built us to this, got us into this position too. Um, where like we can go on social media, we don't even know it's real anymore. We don't like people. Everything's fabricated of the best shot, not a real shot. Like not like real. I don't say it's not real life. It had to happen, but like you're saying, you can never do anything that's embarrassing. You know, you never did any or post anything that was silly. Most people don't want to do that.
True.
Most people want to take the picture, nice next to some beach or some foreign place, right? Looking over the balcony, and the
True.
contemplative thought and be like, oh yeah, if you ain't living your best life, you ain't living at all.
But see, that's where the mind game comes in, because it's like, why market it this way? Why,
Well, I
why,
think,
what
and
is it that
I
we're
don't
trying to
know.
do?
I don't know if this is just an American thing, but I feel like it is because we push a lot of like that stuff. And this is where a whole other, this is my conspiracy theory idea is like art of war type of stuff is like, yeah, we're going to fall upon ourselves because the enemy is going to abuse our insecurities, our vices, right? Got like, if you
You talk
like,
about
I'm
the
not saying,
devil.
I'm talking about whatever country that we might be afraid of or whatever, and the devil. But I mean, because it's the same thing. It's one of the same. Because I'm not saying countries are, but what I'm saying is the art of war. If someone's good at long distance and you go short distance, you use, or sometimes you use their own energy against them, like judo, right? Like you use that force against them. And so what I'm saying is like, I'm not really a person that's like, oh, this is being spied on, but TikTok, that's the issue, right? People are on TikTok, and all you see is this little kids doing something, and now you're seeing fucking adults because especially our generation, for some fucking reason, we cannot just let go and say this is not us. We have to be a part of some young shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to be a part of some young shit. Like you know what? I'm gonna talk shit about a generation. There's some weird insecurity of millennials that feel like they have to be a part of it. Now, at the same time, I will say millennials kind of push the way into what is new in this digital world. But like they can't let it. Like Generation X, as rough as they are, because like I feel like a lot of them are very sometimes they have very extreme ideologies. I'm like, God dang, you guys are so
Gen X is after us,
before us.
before us,
So
before us.
like people, most of the people we knew who grew up and listened to Tupac or Brother Lynch Hung or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you get what I'm saying? Like
The actual
Metallica,
shit.
the hard,
Yeah, we
the
grew
people who
up
was
on
like,
their
cool.
entertainment. Yeah,
We grew up on their entertainment, but when you deal with them, a lot of them were very like maybe it's good as maybe it's bad, but some of them were very rigid and straightforward, which is good, right? You know what I'm saying?
keep it real, generation.
Whatever that means, you know. Um, but that was the last generation that had like a like some weird grit to them, you know.
When does that
Well,
generation
we
start?
I have to look it up.
That's an
I don't
interesting
know.
one. No one ever talks about them because they're the kids from the boomers,
Yeah, because they're well
including
both us
myself. But
and
usually that's like
yeah,
the first gen from the boomers,
yeah,
right? Those
Generation
kids are probably
X
born
by
what, like
year.
75 and up,
Or they call them latchkey kids, right?
like 1975 and up, right? Something like that.
Born 1965 to 1979.
65.
That's what one's saying. I thought I because
Whoo!
I could have swore generation or millennials were 82, but
That sounds about right. Because you got to think about it. Like if they're born in 65, they're roughly 10 years old in 75. See, for us, we're born in 83. We're 10 years old, 93. I think that's a
mm,
good like starting point.
yeah, generations usually last roughly 14 years or so.
Okay,
You
that
know,
makes
at least
sense.
with I don't know how they come up with that, but
I mean, think
you know
about
what
it.
I'm
Just
saying?
before you become a teenager, that's like the easiest way to me.
Yeah, but well, I guess like how do they start it? Like, okay, well, you know what? 1967 and a half is where the gen starts. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that
Like
shit. Yeah.
that part is like
See,
whatever. You know
that's
what I'm
weird to
saying?
me. Just a side note, that's weird because if they're making this shit up, right? As I partly think, but there's parts where it's like, dude, that's fucking genius to do that. To make
Yeah,
it like that, to like, damn, you guys put a lot of effort into the timeline where if you think about it, we ain't questioning it. So therefore it's good enough for us to pass. But there's
hmm
other things where you're like, oh, you guys did a shitty job trying to hide this one. In my mind. See, that's what's funny
yeah,
about some of the shit we're talking about because I'm 80/20 everything. I conspiracy theorist, but 20% of me is like, this is all, horseshit and
yeah.
nonsense. Something like that. I'm like, how do we know? You know,
I think
why
the
do
only thing
that
that they
designation?
I think the only thing they could probably base certain things off is similar attributes and traits of actions from a generation. That would probably be the best way to define. You know what I'm saying? I know not everybody's the same, but there are similar styles between a generation, between a time. And you can say, well, most people that we've seen and doing studies born in 1965 up to 79 have very similar lifestyle and ideology and whatnot.
Maybe
Is
the
that
experiment is the idea of breaking apart the true like family dynamic. You know how we talk about the nuclear family
yeah.
being just like man, woman, child? This might extend to the whole like the tribe idea where no, like uh husband, wife, kids, brother, husband, wife, kids, aunt, husband, wife, kids, mom, dad, husband, wife, kids, grandfather, that one. That's
hmm
the original way. And that feels maybe as early as the 50s or before that generation, the early
hmm
1900 people, even before them, and then maybe the reason why they got us in increments of 14 because their plan is maybe, let's just say this, education dictates that, you know, first through sixth, seventh, eighth, by the time you get into high school, you're 14 and then
hmm
you cut it off there and then 14 you start the next squad if we're just kind of doing that because then
Yeah.
we're in 18 then you go to college 22 boom start your job boom you're set for 60 we kind of program in culture society in increments of 14 where in the olden days we would just pass down family knowledge and shit like that like lessons from our elders before that song and dance and whatever quote unquote would be tribal culture but between the two you're like oh, maybe that's how they sold us on the idea of like the future and all these possibilities and cool shit we get to do today. But in return, we lose a lot of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the true wisdom from, the last 200 years from, grandparents. Cause, it's weird. Anybody that I know, I ask them and they're like, I don't know my grandparents or my grandparents weren't around or they
That's
don't
also
talk about the
partially
past. I'm like,
that's
damn.
also partially because as we grew as American families, we spread apart, right? We like got part of the separation of families, right? Like I was expressing a frustration, which I sometimes it feels I'm gonna be 100 with like whoever's listening. Being 42 and sometimes complaining about things that you're doing for your parents, it sounds weird, right? Like it sounds like a babyish at times. So I was expressing my frustration that I'm like the only person that's within my mother's vicinity and a 250-mile radius. You know what I'm saying? And technically, I just mean up and down, right? And more than that, technically.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I'm tired to be doing fucking shit, right? Now, the reason I brought that is because I said I'm the only one close in a 250-mile radius. The rest of the kids are spread throughout the rest of the United States. And that has become more common lately, especially I think in the black families, because like I hate to say this, but like a lot of times you separate and people go to other places, and a lot of black people generated from the South. Those that don't want to get there, you got the fuck out of there. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Or for instance, you and your parents, like, not saying that you're not close to your parents. What I'm saying is you may not really know your grandparents as much because they're not in the same country.
A lot of them didn't make it. To be honest, both of my sets didn't really make it. So that's why it's like that's common amongst a lot of people. And then when you do get to talk to one, a lot of them aren't really forthright, which makes sense. There's a lot of trauma to that generation too, apparently, on any
Well,
culture.
yeah.
So it's
There's a
like,
lot of things
damn,
that you don't
okay,
want
so
to
I
bring
can't get
up,
it,
man.
I can't get it from them, and then that's it. Like that's all the
Yeah.
family,
Well,
knowledge you can get.
in a very good bad way, like that's how some people, when they come to this country, they start fresh. It's bad because sometimes they may not know the history, but then they can start like, I don't know, that's it. Well, we got to start now. And I will say that some of those people are better at letting go of the past and just starting up now. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe that's an American thing, because if you really think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, the two, you know, it's always that color thing. The two, the minute you embrace a color, you American.
Mm-hmm.
So the only two colors we got going so far are white and black, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are at least the main ones. Brown, but brown's like ambiguous. Some Mexican people, but then you think an American Mexican because the Mexicans down the street, selling fucking ice cones on the corner. Those
Mm-hmm.
aren't the same Mexicans as brown people, are they?
I don't know.
Because we think
Honestly,
the
I don't know.
the brown people we thinking of is the people who are in jail.
Well, that's not what I think of. I just think that that's another term for Mexican. I don't like to really call them, but brown. But some will say brown pride, and I'm kind of I'm not against it. I'll say that. I think everybody should have pride as long as you don't hate other groups. You know what I'm saying? Be proud of who you are.
So to me, there's a small amount of people that are prescribed to the brown movement. But blacks and quote unquote white people, those are in. So that's American. And I think to your point, I don't think they actually necessarily come here and think like, I'm gonna drop our whole, history and start anew.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of it where it's either they're coming from a traumatic place,
Yeah.
or traumatic things happened. My theory is that, both whites and blacks were already here. And something traumatic happened, and then it's been a constant, relearning or reconstituting of a new information.
Well, this is where I think I said a couple months ago, which it might sound crazy then, but wait, I feel like it kind of loops to what you're saying, that people from different countries, they left a traumatic situation and they came here and they had to start kind of different. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I kind of feel the same way with like blacks in America, meaning like I realize that there's a lot of people who will say like, oh, but you have it good here, blah blah, which I'm not saying that we don't, but people don't, right? I think what happens is because overall there are some people who attach the negative thing to America as blacks, that they have not been able to step out of that situation to look at a new light. You know what I'm saying? Like some of them are staying in the same thing, staying in the same situation, and all it is regenerating that trauma, that frustration, that anger, and that the stuff that they're going to see all the time. Well, when you look in when it comes to immigration and people, they up and left to a position, right, that they're like, fuck this, I'm out for whatever opportunity. And even if they're doing other jobs, I don't want to even say what jobs or whatnot because I'm not trying to sound ignorant. I'm just saying to come out here and they come for an opportunity and they see it differently and they feel differently than I feel like some blacks in America would, because and in many cases, I would say blacks in America are still in the trauma. They have to leave it, or I come to grips with letting it go. But do you get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Now what I'm like like at first I never thought about that back to Africa movement, which I thought was stupid, because I don't think you fix problems by leaving. You know what I'm saying? Like you're running, like problems still going on, you just leave the area. There's a pothole. Oh, you just fix it by not taking care of it. You know what I'm saying? Not addressing it. But I see it as in, when it comes to immigration, people are leaving their country to come to somewhere else what they think is better, which will feel like they have a new start, a new mindset. You know,
Mhm.
in many cases, it's like it's like a relationship too. You have to leave your relationship and hopefully go to somewhere else to have a place to grow and a new mindset. Obviously, if you're willing to, instead of now, not I got to say this carefully, because it's not that you have to go in a mindset and not be overly feeling you're victimized. Because I say that just because I think there's a lot of times that people want to discredit what other people do to people. I'm like, no, that shit affected me. And people will say like, oh, stop being a victim. No, shit happened, and that created how I am and how I think. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
but you got to let go of that and learn from it, if that makes more sense. So,
Yeah.
because everybody's like, stop playing the victim, stop playing the victim. I'm like, at what point do people tell the truth of things that happen?
I mean,
and,
again,
and it
it's
fucks
just
you
that.
up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That I don't know. Go ahead.
No, yeah, for sure. I think there's that. I think that's just if that's the engagement, like at least with that in mind, like stop being the victim, right? And then okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. All right, let's talk it through then. What the fuck's going on? See, and that's
Yeah.
where it becomes complicated because it's the idea that you're tapping into a part of history that is to me like I think one of the most interesting topics, but because of the lack of, dialogue or information that's out there, or just maybe people aren't
Mm-hmm.
interested, which I totally get too. It's just, yeah, trying to get down to the root of like, what is all this? Especially the racism part. And it ramps up around this time of the year, when it's election season, it
Well,
always plays a
yeah.
part. So it's like, I like to always dissect it because you see people get emotional and it's a credit to the institution of racism and how it's become to play a part in
I
America of all things. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it of course it's in America, because we it's like it's one of the few countries that's like really diverse. You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm saying is like, yeah, it's American because we've accepted so many different people that it is an issue. Well, most countries will look at literal class of where you're at, right? Like you cannot, some countries you can't even get out of your class unless you to marry into something else. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just
Mm.
saying, like, I'm not saying when people say it's a fascination, it's like, yeah, because we as a country are forced to deal with each other, and most other countries aren't as diverse as we are. So we take the good parts of certain cultures, and we take the bad parts of certain cultures. Wow, if you're saying that you live in Jamaica, then you understand how the Jamaican people work, or a certain class of people work. So racism doesn't exist to them because there's only a couple, or maybe I don't even know if there's how many, but it's just different. Well, we are forced to. And then obviously the slavery was the beginning of it. And not only slavery, but like because I never want to leave out, when we talk as a black man in America, I never want to leave out the injustice that Asian people had to go through as well. Like I hate that that's often forgot about, the injustice that Chinese people did when building railroads, let alone in state of California and Sacramento, there was Japanese people in internment camps here, you know?
Who gets
But
first place
who gets first place? Maybe
for like most oppressed?
I don't really want to answer that question, because I think it's I think it's hard, you know.
Does
Everybody has their own
everybody?
struggle.
But does everybody have a placement though? Every
Like I really
culture,
don't want to
for
answer
that
that.
matter.
I don't really want to answer that question because it's like obviously I see it with my own eyes and my own filter, and I think in America, I think you know black women are at the bottom, or if you said lesbian or transition black women are the bottom. And a lot of it, I believe, is just that most people will come to America and they want to be, they want to be all these things. But the last thing they want to do, because the foundation is already the negativity here. Last thing they want to do is be like, yo, I don't want to be black.
Do you think African and black are different?
Yeah, I think they're different.
But you
But
guys
it's
are,
weird. But it's
but
weird. It's weird because I think when you come from Africa and you come here, you're different, right? There's a different culture, different ideology. Once your kids are born into it, now they're looked at black. Even though if they have African descent, what happens is just now they're living with American things at a young age. Now they're hearing certain things and being molded like fresh clay into something different than African. Even though they will have African families, African roots, you can see that even some people who are African that was born like that lived here for a very long time, you see how they mold to the different style. Does that make sense? But if
true.
you're born somewhere else, you're molded that way, and you come over and you don't you may see it, you may look at it like this is stupid, which it is. You know what I'm saying? But when you're living that shit, it's not stupid anymore. When you're born from it, when you're born from the shit, does that makes any sense at all? I don't know. Maybe that's what it makes sense to me. What I'm saying.
I think it
When
speaks to
you're,
your theory, or not the theory, but the whole idea of like the 14 years, like you said,
mm-hmm,
you come here and then you slowly give up your culture to be
yeah,
American. See, so now is it the difference with black people and African people is that, it's like, okay, I'm to understand that all over the world there's, dark melanated people, right?
yeah,
Okay, so at what point does one become like black?
when it comes to America, but even around the world, people of darker skin usually get treated differently. You know, I mean, there was issues even in Ukraine when Ukrainians were trying to leave, and they're talking about African students not getting an opportunity to leave the country. They had to fight extra hard to leave, but they're getting the same opportunity to bounce.
Mm.
Or in the Philippines, right? There's this idea like in most cases, which if you're darker skin in the Philippines, you're a lower class person because you had to work outside. And that's just because you're out darker because you work outside, you know?
There's something to that. I don't know if that's a myth or what, but I definitely have heard those things for sure.
Yeah, it may be a myth. I've heard enough times to believe it as far as from people that's from the Philippines, but
There's definitely a generation of people that believe that. That's for sure.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
so that's what's trying to figure out. Is this like
Now,
are we just in a transition? That's what it feels like. Because that's an interesting point that it's an embraced idea around the world. There's memes about it, there's constant news articles. Um, but it is factual that in different parts of the world there are darker melanated people, of that type of people. The way I
mhm,
come to see it, like if I'm in Vietnam, I'm seeing in different parts of Vietnam different tribes essentially. To me, that's how I'm seeing it because when I was
mhm,
in the Philippines, that is actually what it was because there was different dialects being spoken. I think with where I was at in Vietnam, I wasn't too familiar with the dialect, but in the way that people looked and, different tones of, copper color and dark, there was really dark ones. And I'm like, damn, frizzy hair. I'm like, this is all over the world now. You go to Hawaii, you go to
mhm.
Samoa, you go to all those places, same deal.
I love Islander people. I don't know why.
I'm just, it's
I
fascinating,
really
man.
I love. I'm not like I'm not like saying oh the women are hot or anything. I just something about Islander, Samoan people and whatnot. I just like I never had a bad run with those people, and I got nothing but love and respect for some reasons. Like the tribe, the family orientation, how they take care of each other. It's just like something about it. Every time I've ever had interactions with those group of people has always been great. Sorry, I just feel like I had to say that
But I think
because
that's to the point, is trying to figure out like that style of life feels the most natural, but yet that style of life isn't embraced as an American, way of life now. So is it that because that's their struggle because they keep it together, and the way the world is in America, you are
man,
essentially
that
incentivized to
is
split up, you know what I'm saying?
that's so weird because I no I so there's a part of me where I see friends that are like Spanish speaking Mexican or whatever, and some of their kids don't speak Spanish, and there's a part of me where I feel like it's very important for you to know your history and don't let that go. But there's a lot of younger youth people that because like maybe I'm not saying this in general. There's a lot of younger youth people that they don't want to be. This goes back to not being isolated. When you're in America, you want to act and be an American. So there's a lot of younger kids that are born of those families into it, and they will. Some will feel embarrassed about their culture. Some will feel a little different and try to deny the culture, or hide from the culture. And I'm just saying, like, not like black. I'm just saying all the like. You'll see some that is like, no, I don't see this. I'm an American. I don't do that,
Oh,
and it's just
myself.
like,
That's how I feel. Sorry. I'm supposed to
right,
identify
right,
with
no,
that.
no,
I
no,
identify
no.
as what you said.
But you get what I'm saying, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that what happens is there's a part where it's like, no, I don't have any attachment to that. No, I don't want to do that because in a sense you're like, I have no attachment other than bloodline. I was born here, I live here, this is who I am, which is good. And at the same time, I think it's also bad in the sense of not understanding like the history of it. But that doesn't take away your American trait. That's just passing on the heritage of like, hey, this is what Filipino people do. You're an American, but hey, just know like this. And I say that maybe because I feel that I've been displaced from the culture of whatever. Like not even just like African. I'm talking about I grew up, I didn't know Juneteenth, right? And I'm not sitting there trying to say because I grew up in a prominent white neighborhood that I feel like whatever. I'm just saying I don't understand. So sometimes when I get around certain things, I'm just like, I have no attachment to it. And in my insecurities, I feel left out in a way where I'm just like, I don't really know. And then, well, depending on people, they'll look down on you or whatever when you don't know these things. You know what I'm saying? That's the other bad part. Like, you may not know certain cultural things. You're like, I don't know. That's not what I grew up. But I think it's important just to know some history. That's just me. I think it's just but that doesn't. How can I say it? But that doesn't take you away from being American either. Because the great thing about America is not only that we're Americans. The great thing about America is also the bad things about America. We are a multicultural group of people, which is great because we learn from that. If you only do things your one way, you can never improve on ways of life. You can take things from other places and make it your own and create this amazing new idea. And if you usually stay within your own realm and own lane, you're not really growing bigger than what that lane is. You may not take in the new movements or the new styles or new eating or new thought process if you're not interacting with different cultures.
Chinese people.
I like how you just thought like Chinese people.
All that made
What
sense until I thought about Chinese people.
and what was that part? Well, I
You don't
mean,
have
like,
to
yeah,
interact anybody in America to be okay generationally.
that's that. That's another thing I probably won't want to talk about because I don't know much history on it.
It's not a bad
I
thing.
I can
It's
I
fascinating
can
to me.
see some of that. I can see some of that. I can see.
I mean, they participate, but they're totally inclusive in the idea that there's a community full fledged, start to finish, that they could operate by themselves. Go to Chinatown in San Francisco. That alone in that radius can service as its own city. There's enough
Oh yeah,
banking. There's enough.
there's a bond.
There's enough everything
There's
going
a
on
good
there.
bond. There's a good rich bond in that neighborhood. Well, like you can kind of say that with certain Mexicans in America, and but the money is
Exactly.
not like the money's not there. You know what I'm saying? But like in China, at least, like I mean, how people I know is like you do a business with China, you're going to be rich. like so many cases that's the enemy in America. There's so many people that want to do business there.
Like, when did we
You know what I'm
ever?
saying?
When were we ever cool with China in our lifetime?
World War II, they're ally. It's funny because Russia and Germany and China were allies, and Japan wasn't. That's why we bombed them, right? U.S. was like, "Yo, let's look up."
No, World War I was the European thing.
That one I like. I don't really know as a male. The only thing I know is about World War One was the aftermath of it that led to World War II. What happened is Germany rose and did all these things. I don't know if that was a Hindenburg, if it was attack on a Hindenburg was that caused. I want to say it was that one for World War One. And whoever's listening, sorry for my ignorance.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
most people don't know
but
shit.
uh, but like Germany started, and then the superpowers were like, "Fuck that, we're taking everything away from the bitch ass," right? So every like 20 years, for about 20 years, they lived in poverty and frustration and anger. But somehow, at that same time, what did I say? The lack of entitlement. Somehow, they became some of the best engineers during
Really?
that time. Yeah, like there's some of their inventions at that time was
I mean, shit,
one
we
of
still
the
live off of today.
right. Well, and like I want to say that it was some German
NASA.
scientists that helped design the nuclear bomb, right?
Those all, yeah, German, and then we inherited them to start NASA. Werner von Braun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Well,
like
the
so during that
Nazi
time.
smarts are all dotted in most like technology sectors all around the world. It was like when they fell, then it was like a draft amongst all the,
Yeah.
superpowers.
It's like
Like, we'll
yeah.
take him, we'll take him, we'll take him.
That's why if you go back and watch uh Captain America Winter Soldier, there's a part where the Hydra fell apart, but then what was it? I was gonna say Star. Whatever the group that it was on, I can't think of it right now. They inherit one of the guys from gosh, uh, Hydra. They hired one guy from Hydra, and then he infiltrated within Hydra. He was like, okay, so I did this, and I destroyed it from within because I started building a secret group within your guys' group. So
Mm.
yeah, it's just funny because which is all obviously written off of based off of some true stuff, like not true completely, but we did hire a lot of German people. We like, hey, fuck you, hey, come over here, make this shit better.
I mean, he's drawing from something. Those are
Well,
real
yeah,
events. It almost That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Mythology is more real than history to me. That's how I see it.
yeah.
It's written
So that's
better. It's more archaic. It's more. It has the arcs. It has the right characters. It feels more real. It just feels when you read shit like that, like this is this is probably what fucking happened, or some degree. These characters are real to some degree. You have to open your mind up to something like that because the beauty and if it is just fucking Stan Lee that wrote it, but obviously this is like a a bunch of probably writers.
well,
I would almost say Stan Lee's.
Stan Lee was also I wanted to say either German or Jewish. It's Lieberman was his last name,
Mm,
and during a
Jewish.
particular time, I think he was Jewish because like it's kind of funny,
Interesting.
and I think it might have been Jewish.
Not surprised. Jewish people, I think, are the main player in America. I don't think it's a bad thing. They're just the ones who run America.
Well, yeah, and so yeah, so is that Lee was raised in a Jewish household. Stan Martin Lieber was born blah blah, Romanian-born Jewish immigrant parents.
Romania is an interesting
Uh,
place too.
so Jack Lieber at the court. So like, there's a part where there was a lot of like I don't know. I want to say it was in the maybe mid 30s or 40s, and it actually makes sense because during that time, like Jewish were being hunted out, so they wanted to hide their Jewish heritage. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. There attacks
Does
on
it,
Jewish people.
and at times it still is, depending on what side of the fence you look at it. As a person, I take a step back and just look at it.
So who are black
Uh,
Jewish people?
I have no clue. I can't answer that question. I have no clue. I don't know the history behind that. However, like what we know as Jews are usually the white Jews and not the like. Jewish people from Northern Africa or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like I think I want to say there's Egyptian Jewish people, and we don't see that.
Mm, mm, interesting. Jewish people are very fascinating. The story of or the sayings and goings ons with Jewish people and the different sects in the
Let
Jewish
me see.
idea. Like the Sephardics and you know um, the dudes with the curls. What are those dudes? Epic
I want
dudes.
to say with the shocks and whatnot. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, sorry. Egyptian Jews constitute both one of the oldest and one of the youngest Jewish communities in the world. The historic core of Jewish community in How long were Jewish people in Egypt?
But see,
Two major
it
theories
seems
are
and
the
oh, go
Israelites
ahead.
and 430 years or plus. So what I'm saying is what we see in America are often the pale light white Jewish people. But when you hear the history of Jewish people, especially in that part of the world, there's a lot of people that may look like different. I'll just say that. You know what I'm saying? Like
It looked
what
like
we see, what
you.
what I'm saying, yeah, and then that's where the history gets lost. I don't know. I have to do more, but you'll see more of the blue-eyed Jew or whatever, if that makes sense. And that's
Mm.
not the, and this is not by any means for me to sit there and take anything away from any Jewish people. I'm just saying like what we know of. Because I remember talking to a friend and he's like, I'm Jewish. And I was like, my dad's from Egypt. And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, what are we talking about? And I didn't know that. And that's from my ignorance because we see certain things.
Okay, what about this? The time of the Greeks and the Romans, or whoever, which one's the more real one? I guess they seem similar. I don't know the difference personally.
It's very similar, actually. It's very similar.
Exactly. Oddly similar to the
Because
point where
even
you're like, are you guys making shit up?
they kind of, because you have, most of the stuff that we know of right now is of Roman, I want to say.
Okay. Either
Or
way.
maybe Roman or Greek. Yeah, like Greek
Okay.
gods.
Either way. So you got those cats, right? And they're warring against who? The Persian.
Yeah, the
Okay, the
Persian, but they
Persians
also, but they,
are
but they also,
every
but they also fought against each other.
so a lot of infighting. So now you take the
Yeah.
Persians, right? Like that's basically what Middle East, possibly North Africa. The people that are, have a unique look to them. You know what I'm saying? The Arabics, the
Okay.
those people, and then you got the tribe, the Chinese folks, and then you got the people south, and then you got, if Africans are the blacks,
So
then what is America exactly? Is it half,
yeah.
uh, as Aztec, Mayan, Native Americans, and then on the East Coast, it's black people down south. Up north, it's going to be white folks, and then Canada is going to be mostly white folks and natives on the coastlines, and
Uh-huh.
then South America, South America. You know what I'm saying? Like what? Like oh, how does this break down? Because am I not to believe that they're not at war still? And
No, I
all what
think
happened to them is they just got reclassified into different, or at least the people got
you know
reclassified into different.
you, you know it's funny because what you're saying reminds me of like I think either Blade 2 or Blade 3 where you're like,
Oh,
oh no, maybe it was maybe Blade 1 where it's like there was this group of like vampires that originated and were the original people, right? And they go in at night. They're like, hey, what are you doing? Because they got mad at the guy who was trying to do all this stuff and fight against Blade. And it's like we need to keep the society in order. But there are people from different cultures that's supposed to represent like the different parts of the world that they like you said the Illuminati that they come together and they come like all right I need this from you and the one that has a higher power but they all talk to try to disseminate the infighting. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like secretly they're
mm,
all together but they're also fighting to
mm,
keep. I don't understand the theory but it's like they keep it secret so they can keep the control.
mm.
Right. So it's like, let me do all this. Now, I wanted to say these were the lists, and I got to probably jump off soon because I got to edit some photos and send it off. Um, so Roman gods' names are they're more common. Like pretty much everything that's planetary are Roman gods, meaning like you have Janus, whatever that is, Jupiter, Saturn, Genius, Mercury, Apollo, Mars, Vulcan, Neptune, Sol, Aquarius, I don't know, Libra, Tellus, Circe, Juno, Luna, Diana. So it's like a lot of the
Astrology.
astrology shit goes from Roman, while Greek are the ones that you'll know, like the Yankee Greek gods. Because I keep forgetting which one's which like the ones we know, like like Aphrodite, like Hermes, Aries. These are the
All
ones you
your
probably know.
favorite brands of
Artemis,
clothes.
yeah, Artemis, right? Which
all
Zeus,
your
Hera,
fine designing
Poseidon,
brands.
yeah, Poseidon, Athena, which is like the Athena most people know. Um, but yeah, those are all like the Greek gods that people will know, and for some reason,
Fine goods.
Greek outlives for some reason has design bigger than the Roman Empire that lasted a very long time, which is all this confusing thing. But
But see,
then you'll go into what's funny is when you go into those gods, you'll see that Zeus or not Zeus, but you'll see that the Greek gods and the Roman gods, there are certain ones that intersect the same powers, right? And then when you'll go into Egyptian gods, which is not talked about often, you'll see similar stuff too. Now, oh yeah, and then what's the other one? With Thor, like Vikings, but what's the term? What's the
Norway,
proper term?
Norwegian.
No, Norwegian, yeah, Norwegian
Yeah,
gods, right?
yeah, Northerners.
So, hmm
See, Vikings, all that lore. But see, now I think the easiest thing now that I'm thinking as I'm kind of trying to piece together, like, oh, the idea is crunch that world into our world.
hmm
Okay. You don't really meet Persian people. You don't meet Egyptian people. You don't meet, what was that third one you said?
Norwegian. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, no, Roman and Greek people, right? You don't meet people
hmm
like, hey, what are you? Greek, Roman. Okay.
hmm
So now let's pick apart the Greeks and Romans, right? We're to understand that that is somewhere in Europe,
hmm
Italy, right? Right above Africa, Italy, you got that whole, European vibe. Okay, Romans are there too, Greeks are there. So they're white, right? At least to our
hmm
understanding. Okay. So now let's
Yeah,
just put those
in
people
America,
in
they're white.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put those people in America. Okay.
hmm
Egyptians,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. They're in Africa. So I would assume those people are dark.
Yeah.
Maybe, there's those people in America, and those are the people that were maybe in America already, but, had some attachment to that kingdom, whatever that kingdom may have been. Um, and then Persians. Persian people are Middle Eastern and parts of North Africa, and going more.
Were you the one that said Persians own a lot of gas stations in LA or something?
Uh, I don't even think
Or
people
some.
distinguish Persian no more as a thing.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the thing, because I was asking, my Arabic friend, and he's from the motherland, and he's like,
hmm
no, 1% of at least Muslim people are Persian. So I'm like, so what are Persian people, and who are they, and where are they? Because if that was a great, you know, like idea, where are they at? Same thing with the Romans and the Greeks. Now, did they all die? Sure. Okay. Any offspring? Are they in America and they don't know either? Because, then we talk about the early immigration,
Yeah.
Italians and then the Irish, they still have a little bit of their culture, and I don't think they were the first ones here, obviously, because there was Native Americans, which we're still trying to sort that out, right? And then
Yeah.
there's, I think, white, colored, melanated people and black people already that are also tribal, and they just don't talk about that. I don't think. You know what I'm saying? I think they just play
No, they
the
don't.
theory
It's
of
like this
that.
weird. It's weird. This is weird. Like we don't talk about that. Like, shouldn't we? Why?
Yeah.
What? I mean, or maybe I don't know. Like, let me just say that maybe we're just not talking about it in America because that part is because a lot of things we say is I feel like it's isolated to us. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't talk about that shit. We
No.
we don't talk about that at all.
But I think that could play a key role in the idea of what racism is, because I think you hit it on the head earlier. It was really quick, but you said about class, right? Class systems and
Hmm.
the caste system everywhere else in the world. And I think that's why people come to America is because we don't do class here.
But we do,
Oh,
we do,
see? So then
we
that's
do.
interesting because
But what
that
happened?
is
But what
mostly
happened?
everywhere in the world,
Classism happens in America.
but
I
it's
mean,
never
we see
talked
it.
about.
It's just, I mean, it is when you're of the left
Higher
party,
class.
right? When you're the left party, what is most of the people who are like who are Dems? They're trying to be like, and it's funny because some rich
Oh,
Dems, most Democratic people are like, take away the money from everyone and give it to everyone else, right?
yes,
While like Republican side is like, nah, man, go out there and get it yourself.
that's funny.
Everybody should be for themselves, which is okay. I'll put it this way: Democratic Party has a bunch of people who are millionaires or whatever saying, give the money back to everybody. Let's create this or whatever, right? And spread the wealth and spread it to people who may not work hard, right? That's one idea of it. But then you have the Republican, I'm just saying both extreme sides. You have the Republican Party like, no, you got to go out there and get it yourself and do it yourself. And we should have less government and we should run ourselves. But America, love our military and our police officers. You get what I'm saying on that is like, they talk about individual stuff. The government should do this, but they're like, fuck yeah, USA, American teams, and the Army and the Navy and the Marine Corps. Fuck yeah, and the police that are all part of the government.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's so funny taking a step back and you're seeing. And I'm not trying to whoever's listening. I'm not trying to be one side or not. I'm actually trying to be really open on both sides right
Trying to
now.
figure it out.
You're looking at it like, okay, and you got millionaires and you got people in San Francisco saying, let's help the homeless, ain't doing shit about it, right? Let's tax everybody who's done well, right? To give to people who are not doing well, which is like in theory sounds cool, but then you look at the people who may not be doing well. It's like, is this really helping, or is this pleasing? Who knows? And then some of it
Yeah.
is like, then some of it is like, hey, are you going to hold any of them accountable?
Mm.
You know, are you going to, or like,
Mm.
this isn't going to work? This doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
And you have the Republican side is like, that's like, hey, everybody should do their own thing, blah blah, right?
Mm.
Pouring some of the money, but then it's like on the extreme side, super American, super proud of it.
Mm.
You know, very, very a part of a group. Meaning, like what are most right wing people seem to be Christians, right?
Okay.
A very particular group. So it's like it's this weird part. It's like I don't want to be a part of it. I want to do everything myself. I want to blah blah blah. But God tells you how to live your life. Let me tithe my
Mm.
money to this agency that's Christianity.
Mm.
I'm just saying. I'm not denying. It's not a shot at Christianity. I'm just saying the sometimes take a step back in the hypocrisy of what they're arguing. Sometimes the same thing we do. You know, I've learned half the time people argue stuff, they're really pointing fingers back at themselves.
Mm.
They're doing it in a different way, in a
Mm.
more digestible way that they're okay with
Mm-hmm. Projecting almost.
projecting. I,
Mm.
I tried to project on some girls last night. I'm just being stupid.
Hadouken projectile.
Hadouken!
Uh,
But I
yeah,
got the
no, man. No,
booty.
man. That is
Your
you
smile
something.
means something. That your smile means something because how I put it, you're like, fuck.
No, I
Makes
mean
sense to
it.
you.
It makes sense. I agree. Those are the extremes. I think I heard it not that long ago. It's like the real shift is actually in labor people, which is majority of the country. Not the I don't know the voting class though. I don't know how the
Mm-hmm.
voting numbers really break down, but in terms of like at least the shift is the working class of people maybe split because I think there was a time before where they more leaned on the Democratic side, where
Mm-hmm.
today it may be more on the Republican side or maybe at least on the fence. It's hard to say. At
Well,
least
yeah,
that was the narrative.
because right now, like at least on the inflation's been going up for a while, but on the left side, it's just the Democratic side is like there's a lot of inflation, a lot more tax, and it's like I'm already having a hard time getting through, right? Even though I think that some of the problems are also these corporations undercutting people and adding AI and you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right,
It's true.
we're gonna get this money, we're gonna cut your job, we're gonna cut this. And the funny thing is, they those companies play both sides,
Oh, for sure. I think both are
right?
in companies' pockets. That's what
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
we're
It's like
technocratic. Yeah, it ain't the
yeah,
government that
yeah,
runs
yeah.
it.
It's like you have a tech group or whatever. It's like let me get less, let tax me less. I need you to tax me less for me to run my business, and you shouldn't allow me to do whatever for your business. And then it's like, all right, cool. I give you that free range. Now, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fire everybody who helped me build this AI so we can make more money.
Booyah,
For you know,
gotcha.
for
The
for you
Democrats
know,
wrote that in for me. Thank
for
you. Bye bye.
yeah, for of course, for the shareholders. Who owns what?
Is this what we're
Who
learning
owns
in
what
our
is just?
generation?
I think the generation. Actually, you know what? Some of the baby boomers said that. I think you and I have always felt that way, regardless,
I think a lot of people feel
right?
that way. Don't want to admit
Or
it.
regardless, right? But I also think right now we're shifting to. There's a lot of people who don't fucking care. It's all about just making that money.
True.
And it's like,
That's
okay,
most
like
people.
like I said
It's
earlier,
simple.
it's like there's if it was there's a part where it was like, and this is more of the right wing, but also some of the Democratic Party people do say this. I listened to someone I know, not gonna say names, was like, oh, but that's the free market, and this is what pay these kids millions of dollars, and I'm just sitting there like, but aren't you the same person that thinks like you're saying that schools should be free? You say all this stuff, right? You're saying that like white people got a hand up. This is a black person. White people got a hand up. Oh, the money, blah blah. It's like, well, what part does it make sense where you're like, okay, free market because of athletes,
Mm.
because it benefits certain people, right? But it's like it's kind of lopsided when you look it over. In my opinion, as an overall, you're pretty much valuing an athlete over a teacher or some other person. And this is a person who's not even professional, making $1 million and getting to go to school for free. While my black ass goes into fucking military, getting paid less than $30,000 a year, right? Yeah, I get to live on as an E1 or whatever, right? Got to go through all that stuff to get fucking paid for school, right? You're American. You're a U.S. territory. This is what you signed up for, and you're trying to tell me that some person who goes and plays basketball gets an opportunity to get $1 million a year, free school, right? Or kids that are going to be a doctor, should the upcoming doctors get paid too? Hey, this is it. This is what they're going to be. They need, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. This is where this athlete's bringing in money. I'm just playing devil's advocate as a whole. I'm not saying you should be equal. I'm just saying, like, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense.
Reflective of us, man. This is where we
You
put our
know?
eggs in. I think that's what it is. Like what we talk about. Like as we try to dissect some of these things. It's like, why is it like this, man? What the fuck? And then you really have to look inwards. Like, damn it, this what we're seeing right now is because of us. It's somehow
And what
subconsciously our fault.
and what did I say? What did I say like a couple weeks ago? I said, like off, those who listen, I said this off air. Like, if our generation, anybody's 35 and older right now that's complaining about what's going on, we're gonna have to take a fucking look at ourselves and say, hey, we approve of this shit collectively. There's gonna be people. I didn't do that. No, fuck it. We were a unimind on certain shit. We were out fucking getting low at the clubs, wearing FUBU, wearing whatever, listen to Britney Spears. We as a collective mind did this. We as a collective mind, and maybe I'll just say in California, have now allowed our kids to run the school because
Players
we
Union.
don't want to sit there and hurt our kids' feelings by telling them to do something because we were hurt because our parents did things that we didn't like, and we want to say let's give our kids all the fucking freedom. That doesn't make any sense. Give all the fucking freedom, and you're still reliable for them. That doesn't make fucking sense, people.
See,
And
that's what we
sometimes,
thought. This is what the kids get it. That's what's fucking crazy. The things that they were giving us movies about, when kids would like, we fucking go to camp and have our own summer camp. We're business people, like, oh damn, they gave us that. They seeded that shit in our mind. and the generation, like how we, consume Gen X's,
Mhm.
material, they were consuming our material at a young age. We were watching Saved by the Bell, 5 years after, Gen X. You know what I'm saying? It's a different
Yeah, that
take on our
motherfucker
mind.
Zach Morris had a cell phone. It was cell phone was fucking expensive. We didn't, what the fuck?
See,
That
but
was
we
the
was
beginning stage.
dude, but that's what I'm saying. Like it was programmed for a generation before us, but we watched it as kids. So
Yes,
whatever
this is
these
why.
kids saw our stuff when we were teenagers. It's weird.
And only our parents. So it's like it was spearheaded by our kids, and we made it worse, right? We watched this stuff. What's going on? We watched some fucking rich ass kid at Bay School High, Bay whatever, Bayside High,
Bayside
fucking rich, right?
High.
Fucking rich, going to fucking Maui, doing all this stuff, living by the beach. Zach Morris got a fucking cell phone, dope ass cars. Then you're like, okay, that's cool. Then you go into
Malibu.
then you go into like, all right, well, that's one side. Then you go into Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
In
People are fucking
Philadelphia.
rich, right? Then you're going to lifestyles of rich and famous. Most of us lived and watched that shit too. You know,
Friends.
Friends, like they all fucking chilled either at the house or at the coffee shop. Who's fucking working?
Hey, how old are they supposed to be?
Right? Like live like that's another thing I laugh. And maybe it's true. I don't know. I'd be watching some of these shows, right? Like Insecure or whatever. And people in the city, at least according to the TV show, they be fucking a lot, bruh. Like they just like these people just be like, hey, on TV shows, like, yo, is everybody getting lucky like that in these cities? Is this reality?
But they sell you on the idea of cities. I think that's why the idea of cities, it's still a work in progress. Like America is big for it. Like we look at what New York does, and California is going through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
brats in New York, that's like accepted, and it's like, oh man, that's a New York thing. It's like, motherfucker, what is city
Oh
people are
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And
So it's like,
especially,
but you
yeah.
adopt these things and you become less human. And imagine being raised in a city as opposed to out in the country. And that's what we're experiencing now. That's why a suburb is like some weird combination away from the city, and it's some new
Yeah,
programming that's come into play.
suburbs is more of like, hey, I finally got the good job. We're finally making it. We're living the normal life that we were taught to live, right? And then we're having these normal problems where you're trying to live check to check, but not show everybody you're living check to check. Don't let your kids go to certain ways. So there's like a weird unknown stress to try to look like everybody else in the fucking suburbs. Because what are you also doing? You have an HOA fee on your house and an HOA fee on your kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? A homeowner association on your kids where the school system tells you how to run your kids, and you got to be like, all right, I'll just pay the dues on that.
America. Boom.
California right now just
California
can't
for sure.
because I don't want to say it's America overall because there's different. Each state has their own problems that I don't know of
True.
overall.
California
I'm
then.
only gonna
Boom.
say I'm gonna say California right now, but
The
it
state of
does
Cali,
seem like it's a
the
bigger.
country of California.
Yeah, but it does seem like it's growing into a bigger issue on other things too. You know what I'm saying?
It's all about the
Like
children, bro.
like think about what once before we go, like how many times have you listened to we talk about basketball here. How many times have you listened to Gilbert Arenas or these other athletes that played basketball? And they always talk about how the coaches were stupid or the refs were stupid. Like they're the only ones that know what's going on. I have yet to hear some of these players and say, you know what, I learned a lesson from that.
This is the new era, bro.
Right? These are all people who are entitled because they're the players that are saying like, "Oh, this was jacked up." Guess what? You're David Stern is the fucking commissioner. Guess what you got to do? You shut the fuck up because this person's the head of the thing. You follow that order. I don't know it sounds fucked up, or you can get the fuck out of the NBA. But some of these guys don't want to hear that shit. The only reason I say that is because I had to be in the fucking military. And what happened? I have a captain of ship. Who takes the rules? You do that, and you fucking follow that shit.
But like they say, the NBA is a fraternity.
But what I'm saying is I've yet to hear most of those guys talk about how good a coach did something well or a ref. Like it's difficult to be a ref. All they want to do is talk shit about what things are because what happens is they want the game to be for them. Most of them don't sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I learned a lesson from this. I could have done that." Most of them are always talking shit because they only want it their way. You know what I'm saying?
True. But I think if you're in the fraternity, you never go away from that narrative because that's a big part of the game now. You know, not saying games are like run a certain way, but in recent times there has been situations where referees would be in on a take. So storyline or
I believe that. Yeah.
reality, it's the idea that if like if you're in a union, even though you're in the NBA, you're in the union. When you're out, it's more similar to the idea you kind of stay loyal to a certain brand of thinking. Whether you may agree with it or not. Some people stay silent, some people talk openly about it. But I would think that the NBA and players, I don't know how conjured up it is and produced versus just their true thoughts. Um, but those are the ones that get viewers, and they could ham it up a little bit, and then it'll kind of play itself out. I think that's what a lot of players are going into the media side of it. Every player right now has a podcast, and it's controversial,
Yeah.
but it's inevitable. Like there was the whole Jalen Rose thing back when he clown Skip.
And yeah, he was the first one to start it off, and now you don't see him anywhere. Like you have to
What
get
do you
me
think happened
after
to that?
you because what happens is he sold himself to ESPN, right, which he got paid, and then they said you're no longer. And I'm just not against Jalen. I love Jalen because actually when he was going in, he was one of the first ones speaking, and it was great listening to his stories, And he got to ESPN, and then it became to where what happens when you sell yourself out to it, right? Or you sell yourself because you obviously want to make the deal, then you have to also deal with what they want you to say and filter. Not what you say, but you don't want to risk losing your job so you're not saying the same things. You're not talking about the same stuff. Because Jalen's stories were great. Look, Jalen Rose was one of the fucking first people that said to Skip Bayless, water pistol Pete. And then you had fucking fake ass Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion, come to try to save his journalistic friend because he said, "Oh, you can't say that." What the fuck? You go and talk shit about athletes all the time. An athlete can't talk about a fucking writer.
Let's see. To my
Like this
point earlier,
bullshit. I'm
but
sorry,
that's
that's
what
a
I'm
whole
saying.
different story.
But to my
That's a whole
point
different story.
earlier,
That was a tangent and a half, bro.
hey, but that's true. But see, to my point earlier about the refs, as a player, even though the media has to be paid in a certain way, and if you speak up against certain dudes, there is some kind of reprimanding at some point. You got to think, right? Even though Skip Bayless was probably protected to some degree by, some people are like, hey,
For a while, yeah,
stay off of him.
until he's no longer useful. You know what I'm
But
saying?
that's what happens. Your viewership
Yeah,
goes down. All of a sudden, everybody's gonna feast
you're,
on you.
yeah,
That's just
you're
what
no longer
happens.
useful.
Look at
Now you said years
Grant
ago.
Napier, same thing.
Well, Grant Napier, I never liked that dude, but that's a whole different story. Like, there's a part where you like that's a whole other thing about a player like Boogie. He will never take accountability of that he fucked up. This motherfucker will never say that shit. As good as he is, he'll never like. I just saw one where he did was talking shit about the Kings, how the organization was fucked up. You can say it was, you can say it wasn't. You know what I can say about that though? There's a commonality of a player who's no longer playing in the NBA because of his attitude.
Good point.
You're no longer useful, and everywhere you went was someone else's problem. At what point are you the problem?
It is interesting.
You
There is
know, and
that narrative slowly creeping
then
out too.
you call out Grant Napier. Although I don't care for him, I don't know if he should have got fired. But we lived in a day at that time that you were going to get fired for whatever you said. Do I think that what Grant Napier probably did was true? Sure. I mean, I think he was in a certain way, but there's a part where it's like, do you forgive? Do you move on? Do you let people go forward? Whatever. I mean, at the same time, Grant Napier took that bait, but no, that's a whole different story. Be smarter than the people who are accusing you.
NBA
You know
is a
what I'm
big
saying?
business,
Like,
man.
don't. It is. It's huge. It's billion more. I mean,
So
it's not
these
as big as the
things,
NFL.
yeah.
It's not as big as the NFL, but guess what? It's when you talk about the amount of players in it, it's the per person they get more money. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So,
The global reach, just the branding of it, just kind of their outlook. Just if you have to
mm-hmm,
look at the NBA as a business, you're like, this is what it is. I think there was a time when the way that they told the story and the way the NBA was, it was almost like um, like a starting business. More or less, it
mm-hmm.
was going through a lot of struggles. Hit its high point. Now it's ascending into great heights, and I think with the things we talk about, like if you're part of that growth and like you've been a part of that, like they take care of their players after 10 years. You play 10 years in the league, you set for life. You got pension,
I thought it
all
was
that.
I thought it was more than that. I thought it had to be like three years or something like
According
where you get a
to
pension.
Sebastian Telfair, that's the key name, or that's the
So
key number.
because my friend who played in the NBA was trying to get 3 years so he can get some type of retirement.
Retirement for sure, but I think pension is 10,
Oh, okay.
whatever
So
that
he was
means.
just trying to be eligible for the retirement,
I
but
believe
then
so.
didn't get it. Okay,
Yeah.
because like I obviously I don't know the whole thing,
I can't say for
and
sure.
and
I'm not in
obviously
that fucking NBA either, so I don't fucking know. This is what I
yeah,
heard. I don't know what these motherfuckers say. Like you said, their personalities for sure. I mean, I think it's good, but I also think to your point, I think it's the idea that it's just changing, and I don't know what comes of it. But it's just a part of it. It feels just it was time the last, you can say the last 4 years now, last 5 years. A lot of these things went down, and just
hmm
slowly replaced, and life just keeps going in the craziest way. And as an outsider, at least the way I see it, being, a little older, the outside looking in, you just got to let them have their time, just kind
oh
of
yeah,
see
yeah,
it
yeah,
and
yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
look at
yeah.
it. I'm just like,
You
I can't help it
you
but
ain't
think like as a business person, yeah, if I was in the NBA and I'm trying to, keep my, foot cool, I probably know who to be cool with and who not to speak about if
yeah.
I'm trying to maintain. Like you said, there's a certain order. Now, how many people think that's nefarious or not? I mean, it's a business, and you figure if it's a lot of money on the
There's
line,
an order in everything, man.
yeah,
There's an
see,
order
and I
in
agree.
there's an
See,
order in mobs. So it's like stop. Like sometimes the order is needed in order to get things that you need, right? Like it sounds weird. Like you
boom,
have to have a structure in order to get certain places.
see, and
And
that's the
if
NBA
you
for you.
fuck, and sometimes it's good to fuck up the order because you get something new. But for the most part, you have to allow certain things to go because it's going to lead you in a proper direction. Yeah, we got to end the recording part because I got
I'm
to
good.
start
I'm
editing some
good.
photos or whatever. Yeah. Hey, Sky High,
Bye, hi.
episode 2 million.